Yo, what's going on? Nick Stahl and my buddy Bryan, known as Metal Gear Legacy on Instagram. We're up on the roof, which is the name of my new podcast. And I just wanted to introduce you guys to some people that are very close to me. I've known Bryan for almost 3 years now. One of my first friends I've made upon moving to Venice, California, and training at the Mecca of Bodybuilding.
Yes, sir. My name is Bryan Wesley, aka Metal Gear _Legacy on Instagram. But people call me Metal Gear. People at Gold's Gym or at work, they call me quote unquote Mohawk Guy. Some people call me Track Guy. Some people just call me by my name Bryan, Bryan.
And he mentioned Track Guy because he actually has a long history running track. He's a very successful track athlete. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how sprinting, track, and bodybuilding go hand in hand, and how you've been able to make that work, and what got you started with all that?
So bodybuilding is mainly about aesthetics. And if you go up in a higher realm of bodybuilding, then it becomes about just being strong and being aesthetic at the same time. So track and field within sprinting is a power movement. You know, you're applying force on the ground in order for you to propel yourself faster. But in order for you to generate power as a sprinter, to run faster, you have to be strong, and you got to be quote unquote in shape in an anaerobic standpoint. So if you look like sprinters in the past, like Ben Johnson, even though he was on the juice, or you look at somebody like Usain Bolt or Suffer Powell, they're very, very big, strong, very aesthetic, and very, very can generate a lot of power in order for them to break 10 seconds within 100 meters. So the training goes hand in hand and whatnot. Within bodybuilding, you're going for not just aesthetics, but you're constantly training your power moves. You're constantly doing strength exercises that look a certain way. Within sprinting, you have to do a lot of power strength moves as well. Pretty much the same movements a lot of these bodybuilders are doing in order for you to be strong. But in addition to that, you have to maintain mobility, and you have to do a lot of anaerobic movements in order for you to not only maintain mobility integrity and be flexible, but be able to have the technique in order for you to complete sprinting, your running form in a very, very thorough standpoint.
Absolutely, man. That was beautiful. And that reminds me of a few bodybuilders who are like mass monsters, and they're some of the most flexible and mobile people I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes.
I remember Rich Piana had a video online, and he was more flexible than me. I'm like, how is this even possible? So even though, you know, you might see a guy, you know, muscle on muscle on muscles, doesn't mean they're not flexible, that they can't touch their toes or grab their hands behind their back like that.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've improved this past year. I had limited mobility in my right arm, mainly from pitching and playing baseball, and a lot of rotator cuff issues that came with that. And now, see if I can do it right now. The chair is behind me, but now I have full mobility in my right shoulder because I rehabbed it correctly. I did the research online. I found out what worked and what exercises I could do. A lot of the times you don't even need physical therapy because you can do the work yourself. Generally, at the end of a few weeks of physical therapy, they give you a list of exercises to do on your own anyways. It's the same stuff they put you through. So do the research like anything in life, and you can better yourself. It's called self-improvement.
Yes. Yeah. So like adding to that, you know, it's like there's certain bodybuilders that separate themselves with other bodybuilders. So a complaint that a lot of the old heads say at Gold's Gym is that not a lot of bodybuilders are strong these days. So that what made Ronnie Coleman so different from everybody else. Not only that he was training as an athlete, he was training as a power lifter to be a bodybuilder. And not only that, it made him very, very big and aesthetic, but he was just stupid strong. He was doing things that other bodybuilders were not doing, which was deadlifting 800 pounds, squatting 800 pounds. I mean, like he was unbelievable. You know, there was bodybuilding and there was Ronnie Coleman. And then leading up to that now, you know what I'm saying, that's what separates Phil Heath from everybody else, because Phil Heath does things that no other bodybuilders do. And that's why he's a Mr. Olympia. That's why Kai Green is what he is in bodybuilding. And that's why they're quote unquote not necessarily just elite within bodybuilding, but but I like to call them the alphas of bodybuilding, because not only that they stand out, they're able to master the things that certain bodybuilders in this day and age are not capable or not willing to do.
I like that. The alpha of bodybuilders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to hear. I know in the past you've been sponsored by Nike. You have gone and competed at some of the most top levels within track. Let me hear a little bit about your journey from high school to college and exactly where you are with track and sprinting right now.
So, in my history within athletics, I've always been a fast guy. I was very lean, skinny at the time. So when I got to high school, I played football, and, we had a pretty decent year. I mean, I was a freshman. I wasn't part of the varsity team. So the varsity team, they did very, very well in the season. But football season's over with, so I need to, quote unquote, stay in shape. So this is right around 2003. So in order for me to stay in shape, the wide receiver coach and the head coach were like, hey, you should run track to work on your speed. So I got there naturally already fast. We started running. I started beating everybody in the team. So I automatically jumped in the varsity track team, and then I made it to the preliminaries of the section championships as a 13-year-old. So my fastest time as a freshman in high school was about 11:1. Which is fairly respectable. I mean, it's not like crazy fast, but the following year, that's when things started to break out. My sophomore year, I automatically ran like a 10.9, 10.94. That's my first time breaking 11 seconds. And I finished that year with a 10.71, 100 meters, finishing about, I was like 16th in the state.
Okay.
So, but only the farthest I ever made was section finals. I didn't make it to state. The following year, my junior and senior year in high school, that's when I finally broke out, started getting college letters. But the thing I always tell people is that I'd never reach my full potential in high school. I had opportunity to reach my full potential in high school, but if I was to transfer to another school where my sprint coach at the time was moving to, so I only finished with a 10.58 twice, 2006 and 2007. And I finished 10th in the state, made the state finals.
Solid.
But I didn't make it to the final heat in 100 meters. I only made it to the semifinals. So 10.58, and there were guys running. There were like at least 4 or 5 guys running 10.3, and I always to this day believe that if I would have went where my coach went to in a different school, I would have ran at least 10.2, 10.3. So when I got to college, I went to Arizona State with a scholarship, and it was ups and downs. I think the problem with me going to Arizona State was that I wasn't thoroughly focused. You know what I'm saying? Because Arizona State is a party school. And a guy like me, I came from a very black and white background. All I did was eat, sleep, train, study hall, school, train again, Dragon Ball Z, anime, video games, do it again. So when I got to college, I was on my own. And I always tell young guys, I think the best thing for you to have when you get to college going all by yourself is a mentor to make sure to keep your mind right.
Yeah, especially when you have all those beautiful ladies.
Oh yeah,
Arizona
absolutely.
State running around.
Exactly. Or get with a girl who can keep your head right. You know what I'm saying? Because getting with the wrong crowd can automatically lead you to make you have to make very, very poor decisions.
Girl, it's gonna build you up, not bring you down.
Exactly. So, at Arizona State, I made it to Pac-10s, where it was Pac-10s at the time before Utah and Colorado joined. But then again, it was a very, very bitter experience. Didn't reach my full potential at all. I didn't reach not a good potential at all, period. But fortunately, some of the alumni, they still believed in me, still remember what I was, and believe that I can be a lot better than I ever been before. So after I graduated, I continued on with my track career by training with different groups. And about 2010, after I pledged a fraternity, that's when I got into bodybuilding. I installed bodybuilding within track and field. So my context on bodybuilding is pretty much the essence of fitness. Like, what is bodybuilding? Bodybuilding is being strong, being healthy, being fit, able to have things like mobility, flexibility, stamina, endurance, conditioning, and other elements in order for you to be a better athlete. So, because people's perception on bodybuilding is drugs, just being as big as a house, lifting heavy weight, not being mobile at all, but I have a different understanding of what bodybuilding is, and that's how I took it into track and field, and it made me a better athlete. I think the most important thing bodybuilding done for me as an athlete is that it took my discipline over the roof. like bodybuilding is a 24/7 sport. It's not like football or any other sport where you just come to practice for 2 hours, do your thing, and leave. It's 24/7. And that being said, it really enhanced my sprinting. So when I got to LA and I got sponsored by Nike in 2014, that's when I ran like 10:34 in 100 meters. And then months later, I ran 10:28, and then I ran 10:27. And I made it to USA's, made it to the semifinals. And, it was a good experience. And then the following year, that's when I finally ran faster. And I ran 10:22. And for 180, I ran 10:19. And, you know what I'm saying? The reason why I was able to hit those times is because I created track and field, just like bodybuilding, lifestyle. I get the way I get up in the morning, the way I eat, the way I go to sleep, the way I go about my workouts, the way I go about going to work. Everything is parallel to going to how I go about track and field and how I go in the gym. I do a various exercises that help me improve my sprinting and whatnot. If I want to work on speed and agility, I do cones, ladders. If I want to work on my power and my strength, I do deadlifts and squats. If I want to work on my posture, first thing I work on is my lumbar posture, where my hip position is at. So I do a lot of planks, sit-ups, lower leg raises, and you know what I'm saying, and I eat the correct foods in order for me to be the best athlete I can be. But the most important thing I've done was surround myself with people who are better than me and whatnot. Because if you want to be strong,
better place in the Mecca.
Exactly. If you want to be strong, you gotta be around guys who are strong. If you want to be fast, you gotta be around guys who are fast. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way you're gonna be faster, stronger, and bigger. Is by being around bigger strikers, faster, stronger people.
Absolutely, man. I gotta admit, when I first moved and started training there, you were one of the guys who was always there, consistent. I'd say 2.5 to 3 hours in the gym, and I was running right there alongside you sometimes. Training because I was competing at the time, 6-7 workouts a week, and it was like our second home. It was awesome. Yeah. I still see this guy if I go in the mornings, man. Just literally, no one works harder than this man. Goes in and he knows his craft very well, and I respect the hell out of him for staying committed, disciplined, and focused. It's all about focus, and at the end of the day, he's got a drive like no other, and it's very inspirational to me as I continue to pursue my fitness goals. Now, Bryan, you didn't tell us initially where are you originally from?
So I'm originally from Los Angeles. I was born in Anaheim, California, and when I was like 2 months old, my mom and my dad, we moved to the city, and I lived in the inner city for quite a while. We lived off of Broadway in Manchester in the 90s, and then we moved to 80th and Western. So this is what people would call South Central LA, but I call it the inner city. I always tell people that I'm not from the hood, but I lived in the hood and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? My dad, he was in the Army. My mom's strict, so I was never really around some of those things that was going on in the streets in LA. And then the next place I moved to was Long Beach. That's one of the best times of my life. I love Long Beach. Sweet. As a little kid. You know what I'm saying? Fortunately, I was able to go to school there and made some good friends who to this day I still keep in contact with. And then from there,
did you have a membership at what was that? Is that famous gym down
Metroflex?
there? Metroflex?
Metroflex? No, Metroflex. I didn't know. Metroflex was not known at the time. Then at the time. So, but then from there, I moved to Moreno Valley. So Moreno Valley is is in between Riverside and Palm Springs. So that's what we call the suburbs. Moving from the city to the suburbs was very, very depressing. And so I'm not a suburb guy. So when I graduated high school, I made it clear that I'm checking out.
Yeah.
And so I went to Arizona State. I was there for about 6 years for undergrad and grad, half a year grad, before moving back out here in 2013. But the thing I did here was that when I moved back to LA, I lived in the Valley. I didn't know what the Valley was.
Yeah, the Valley girls.
Yeah, exactly. I was in North Hollywood, and then once I got there, I made it clear that I need to get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
I'm not a Valley dude. I need to be by the water.
Right, same.
ASAP.
You can't beat being at the beach, man.
Exactly.
You just hear the sound of the water, the ocean breeze. It can reset your day like that.
Yes.
So that actually brought up a thought of mine. So in college, you said you had bachelor's and a graduate. What did you study? I'm kind of curious.
So I graduated with a geographic information technology degree for undergrad. And then for grad school, I want to continue on with that degree in grad school. So, but the thing was that I couldn't afford to go back to grad school. Like, it was just too expensive. I didn't have enough loans, enough grants, or anything like that. So my grad advisor was like, I had an opportunity to move back to LA. One of my friends from college, she went to UCR. Her dad he had a high level position at this aerospace company in Pasadena. So he pretty much offered me an internship. He said, "Hey, get an interview. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Just represent yourself." So this lady that I'm friends with, her dad had a high level position at this aerospace company in Monrovia. He offered me an internship and an opportunity to work for his organization. So I flew in, got an interview. It was very, very long, stressful. Because aerospace organizations, they're very, very. They co-play with the federal government because they build airplane parts for the military. So they keep everything very strict. So I came in there, just did what I did my thing, went back to Arizona and got a call saying, "Hey, you got the internship, let's start." So that was my ticket to come back to LA. Yeah. So I was an aerospace engineer when I first moved back to LA.
Wow.
And, a year later I got laid off. And, it was sure enough, I learned that I didn't want to do it again. Because when I was in college, doing a whole track thing, doing a whole fitness thing while I was studying, a lot of my fraternity brothers, they were very blunt with me because they were in the aerospace industry as well. They were like, "Bryan, you're really, really good at this track and fitness thing. Why wouldn't you just get a degree into kinesiology?" But at the time, I didn't know what an entrepreneur was. Yeah. All I knew was to go to school, get a degree, work for somebody, die. That's all I knew.
Wow, that took a turn for the worse.
Exactly. So when somebody tells me that they make their own money, I look at them sideways, be like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So when I came back to LA as an aerospace engineer, and I see people just driving Benz and Mercedes, and it's like 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. They're going to yoga class and go to the gym. I'm like, dude, how the hell do you do that?
Yeah.
Because all I know is a 9 to 5. And then I started going to Gold's Gym because Gold's Gym, that is where all the entrepreneurs are. I was going to Equinox West Hollywood. I was going to all these places, working out and just networking and hearing people what they do. Yeah. And it makes clear sense to me. Everybody work for themselves. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? LA is a very entrepreneur-based city. Within the city, that is. If you go in the suburbs, everybody work for somebody.
Yeah.
And whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like in the city, there's more opportunities to do different things and earn different streams of income. So that allows that entrepreneur to, bring in the revenue they need to live, as well as network and gain more business, simply because there's more people and the population's greater. Exactly. A lot more people to sell to.
Exactly. So when I got laid off, I was about at least 3 years late, but as long as I started from rock bottom, and it took me about 5 years to be in a quote-unquote decent position where I got clients through online and clients in front of my face, working for different organizations that can pay me decently well and have a platform that have a lot of potential to quote-unquote blow up. So it's all about execution and just taking advantage of the opportunities around me.
That's awesome, man. That's good. You're doing very well, and we were speaking last week about you potentially making that move to the beach, and that's a big step for you.
Yeah,
I know where you were, years prior to this, and to hear the success you've been having is great. So keep it up, man. I had a word today, wanted to touch on, and it's perseverance. I want to hear about a time. This is one of my favorite words. I'd like to hear about a time that you had to persevere through something that may have held you back, whether that was an injury, hindered your performance, something where someone watching this right now can relate to you, and that can be that step they need to get through their struggle and what they're going through right now.
Yeah. So like I said, the worst injury I ever had in my life was, I give you two stories. Yeah. The worst injuries I ever had in my life was in 2015. I had a herniated disc, right? I had a bad sleep posture. I was extra twisting.
Oof.
I woke up at 12 o'clock at midnight to use the restroom, walked around, came back, got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't walk because my sleep posture was bad. It really set my back off. My back just gave out. Couldn't walk for 6 weeks.
What?
I lost like 40 to 50 pounds. I was like 180 and I went down to like 130. Everything I worked hard for, because that was like my peak level shape. Everything I worked hard for just deteriorated, and and that's the reason why I was no longer with the Nike team and stuff like that, because they just didn't want to deal with it. But fortunately, Alta Sports Institute, they kept me around as a sponsor athlete, and they just treat me, worked on me, and make sure my back came back to place. So normally, a normal human being, I like to say, will like just gave up, like no more track, no more weightlifting, no more of this, no more of that. But understand that if you let the body heal itself, give it the proper treatment, besides not using pharmaceuticals, it will heal itself. It's all about learning and understanding what you need to do in order for you to let the body do its job. So 2016 was what I like to call a recovery year. I wasn't able to do the things I was able to do in 2014, 2015. But the thing I did was I stayed persistent. I kept going to the gym each and every single day, after day, after day, after day, after day. And just do the exercises, do the rehabbing, and sure enough, my body fully healed, and my back healed like it never had, like the incident or the accident never happened before. So that's something. So perseverance requires you to be very persistent on showing up, and be persistent on learning how to correct whatever you're going through, and be consistent on whatever good habits that you develop, so you get better and better at it each and every single day in order for you to go put yourself in a mental and physical realm at optimal levels. So another word of perseverance another event of perseverance I'll share with you was just a transition. So, I told you I was an aerospace engineer, got laid off. Nick knows I went from having my own place to sleeping in my car. And I slept in my car for a year and 3 months. So what that required me to do is I still came to the gym. I still came to go to the gym with a smile on my face, with a mindset of working out. And I still came in there saying like I was if I had my own place, and kept working hard. So again, a normal human being, a normal person would just fold. So they'll probably just go back home to their parents' house or get involved in some things that might get them in trouble. But I maintained consistency on going to the gym, even though I didn't have a home. But I still came to the gym and trained like there's no tomorrow. And I kept working, looking for opportunities. Nick, remember, I used to reach out to him, asking there any opportunity for me to reach out for. And sure enough, I ended up working at 2 restaurants. I work at one restaurant in the morning, go to Gold's Gym, go to the track, and then go to another restaurant at night, and did it for 5 or 6 months straight. And sure enough, I was able to get a job at Iron Fitness.
That's awesome.
And then I was able to build my clientele up to a point where then I was able to afford my own room and get a new car. So perseverance requires you to be persistent at just showing up to the battle. Consistency is developing good habits and get better at those good habits each and every single day until everything is clockwork, and then everything starts to flow up. I think the most important thing about persevering through what I went through was coming with the right attitude. Because I used to be a victim of anxiety, depression, and being in something involving that, it makes you very, very depressed and sad. But then again, the worst thing that I can do as a person of influence is lash my sadness to other people. That's something I never wanted to do, and that's something I never did. What I really did, what makes me feel better is making other people feel better. And when I make other people feel better, it makes me feel very, very fulfilled. So that's what really, really helped me get through those times of making other people feel good about themselves, because I feel that I actually became a very prosperous human being. And being a prosperous person is a betterment for the community, and I'm all about the community. So that's my stories of perseverance.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, anytime, brother. Anytime,
Yeah,
man. I'm not ashamed of it. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
It's LA. LA is a very parasitic city, and it's a lot of parasites feeding off of you and whatnot. So you just gotta have to be a very strong, mentally, spiritually person to overcome all those obstacles.
That actually reminds me of some time I spent yesterday. I I'd never gone on a hike actually by myself before.
Mm-hmm.
I love to hike. I love doing my HIIT training there on the mountain. But I was like, you know what? I need to get away, by myself, off in nature. And I got to the top of the mountain and sat there, prayed, meditated, and stared into the ocean and the sky. And it was awesome. And it really made me feel better. And sometimes, living in a city like we do in Los Angeles, any city for that matter, whether it's Chicago, Philly, New York, sometimes you just have to get off in nature and really, really just find yourself and clear your mind. So it was a good time yesterday. I'm going to continue to do that. One of my best friends recommended it, and he does it very often, and I'd like to continue to implement that in my life. Now, that brought me to a thought I had, and this will be our last topic. I find it, you said, a lot of parasites and, say, needy people in LA. I personally find dating difficult in LA. Now, there are always plenty of girls here in LA to meet, have fun with, this and that, but to find a quality girl to, say, spend your time with, it's few and far between. I've been single for almost 2 years now. I wasn't, trying to rush back into another relationship or anything. I am open, ladies, so hey. But I wanted to say, pick your brain. Give me, one small piece of dating advice.
You are what you attract. Period. I mean, if you act like a nice person and be a nice person and be honest, you're gonna attract people who are nice and honest people. If you're a scumbag, you're gonna attract other scumbags. Another piece of advice is approach people as a human being. Don't approach them as an opportunity or as a substance. And when I mean by substance, as in somebody who can give you the things that you lack and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's supposed to help you gaining things that you lack. They're not supposed to replace it. One last thing, be discreet about your qualities. When I mean by be discreet about your qualities, as in materials that you possess, be discreet on it so they can fall for what type of person you are versus what you have.
Yeah, not for the jewels.
Exactly. So there you have a higher probability on falling for a more authentic and legitimate relationship, as opposed to a tainted relationship.
That's awesome, man. Great advice. Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. I think that'll help the audience for sure. And I'll leave you with one last question, just a little on a lighter note. What's your favorite cheat meal, man?
My favorite cheat meal, I like authentic pizza.
Authentic pizza?
Yeah, so here in LA, we don't have like pizzas like you have in Philly. In Philadelphia, you guys got the real stuff. Here in LA, everything is GMO processed, but there's like small little mom and pop shops that can make real pizza off of a brick oven.
What's your favorite place?
It's a Marco's Pizza in Westwood.
Marco's Pizza, I've heard of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Scott's Pizza.
Yeah. We were just talking about it like 5 or 6 days ago.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I personally haven't gone yet, but I got to check this place out.
I highly recommend.
Okay. That brick oven pizza, baby.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, that's everything for today. I hope you enjoyed and learned some stuff from my buddy Bryan. That's all for today. Up on the Roof with Nick and Bryan. Take care, guys. Peace.